Are you reinventing your career right now? Or maybe you're just wondering, is it already too late to start over? I'm Uma Thanabalasingam, and I've spent over 20 years building my career in the corporate world. Most recently as vice president at a global tech company with a team of hundreds. And then I decided to walk away from it all and start all over again and build something completely different. And I'm still on that journey, building. In this video, I'm sharing some of the most raw and powerful moments from season 1 of Raw with Uma. Conversations that go deep into what it really takes to reinvent your career, to thrive in industries where women are still breaking barriers, to not just survive but thrive during and after career breaks. And what I call a career quake, when everything crumbles and you sit in the rubble, figuring out who you really are and what do you really want. You'll hear conversations about how to restart after life forces you to pause, what it takes to actually thrive in the corporate world, and how to build a network that works for you without faking it, and how to land a job in 2025 and beyond without sending hundreds of resumes into the void. Before each clip, I'm going to give you a little context about why this moment mattered and what I hope you'll take away from it. If these stories resonate, please hit subscribe, like this video, and check out the show notes to connect with me on other platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram. Let's keep learning from each other. If you've taken years off work to care for others, your partner, you know that the world doesn't always value that time off, but it should. In this episode, we go deep into what it really means to return after 5, even 10 years away from work. In our first clip, Shirani asked a question that so many women carry silently. How do I come back from caregiving? How do I explain that career gap? And in the second, we flip the script with Jingjin. We talk about why that gap is actually your greatest leadership strength and how to own it without apology. Because the truth is, if you've cared for someone through illness, through crisis, through daily invisible labor, you are already resilient, already strategic, already calm under pressure. You're not a candidate despite your break, you're a candidate because of it. Let's get into it.
My question is, how would you advise a woman looking to come back to the workforce after a considerable time off doing caregiving, whether that's taking care of children or whether that's looking after elderly or sick parents or even a spouse? And I'm not talking about just maternity leave, like 3 months, 4 months, you come back, or even a year. Talking about like 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
Depending on the intensity of that caregiving.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're right. So many people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Even students are thinking about career breaks even before they start working.
Yeah,
and
it's a reality.
this is on the minds of the women that I talk to and meet in what do I say when I am ready to come back to the workforce. I'm having that conversation with the recruiter. You know, how do I explain myself? What do I say? Yeah. Okay, so then there's 2 parts to this question. So I think let's tackle the first part, which is, what do I say when I'm ready to come back?
Yes.
And I think a lot of women feel like they have to explain themselves. And I'd like to, my perspective is to get on the front foot in that conversation. So you are in a meeting with a recruiter that has looked at your resume and said, let's talk. So you jump on the call. I would say, thank you for setting up this meeting. It's great to meet you. I'm sure you had a chance to read my resume. Here's a 2-minute introduction about myself. By the way, in the last 5x years, here's what I've done, right? Did I take time off for a mental break, for caregiving, etc.? So I would just explain that quickly. And then I would say, during that time, here are the skills I developed and what I learned. And then in the third sentence, say, in the role that you are looking for, I believe these skills are going to apply this way. And that's your intro. Then you don't leave them guessing, or you give them the power to go like, oh, but why did you take such a long career break? You've already preempted it. So you are on the offense instead of being on the defense.
I don't know any species or sex that is resilient than a mother or than a caregiver for an elderly or for a disabled person or for your own children. And that, I think, of course, society need to value that. But when you as a woman, after you take the break, you come into the interview and saying, I have cared for 2 let's say, disabled children, or my mother who has Alzheimer, for the past 5 years, these are the things I've done. These are the mental load. Be as specific as possible and put it out there, but also as succinct as possible. And if you want to have a resilient leader who do not quit just because things get hard, who can manage your team, who stay calm during the turbulence, not just, we see so many leaders just, okay, let's just go whatever the CEO says, let's go this direction, that direction, who maintain calm, who still see the direction. And I don't know anybody who can do this better than a caregiver. And I think for women, you need to own it. So when you said, when I come to a conversation, the first thing, I'm going to put the elephant in the room saying this, I chose to take the break for 5 or 10 years in order to do 1, 2, 3. Now the things are settled. I'm back. I have gained through this 5, 10 journey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's why I am the best candidate for this role.
We don't always notice the moment it begins. That internal script telling us we need to be more, to do more, to be busy, or be behind. And in this episode, we unpack what happens when we wear busyness as a badge of honor and what it really cost us. In the first clip, you're going to see Charles sharing something many men never say out loud: the pressure to perform, to stay productive, and to never admit you're doing the hard work of looking inward. And in the second clip, Calissa takes us back to where it all starts: school, expectations, and the quiet fear of not being good enough. The kind of fear that can drive you to burnout before your career even begins. What I love about these moments is how honest they are, because many of us, women and men, we're still learning how to slow down, to be still, and feel like that's enough. Let's listen in.
In female terms, I understand that, you shouldn't be wearing, business as a badge of honor, but that's also the same with men. But the thing is, men do. It is that badge of honor that we like to think. And almost admitting that you're investing in self or taking a break because you want to look deep inside and understand yourself better to make yourself a better person is almost viewed as a weakness. And I talked to you about this before. Like when I did Hoffman, when I would talk to certain people, I would pitch it as it was really just a thing I can do to help me professionally, not actually wanting to admit that, yeah, I know I can improve if I spend a lot more time looking deep inside myself.
Yeah. So what was the shift on narrative there? What made it happen for you? Especially as a man, which, great perspective. It is the badge of honor.
Yeah. But I think so what happened when I realized that it was silly what I was doing was when I was at Hoffman. And it was when you just realize that you think that you're the only one who needs to do this. So you almost feel like I'm admitting that I'm weak while everyone else is strong. And you realize that actually most people can benefit from spending a lot of time investing in themselves.
I had a comfortable childhood, so middle class, simple lifestyle. I was okay in primary school and even more average in middle school. And I think it was really in junior college that fear of mediocrity kind of set in. But unfortunately, I think I only really blossomed much later in life in university when I started getting a bit out of my shell as an introvert and when I started to really apply myself to subjects I actually loved. So I think university was both a great time and a not so good time for me in the sense that I guess my fear of stagnation and my fear of being an imposter kind of set in. And I think it was from there that this sense of desperation to always keep doing better, always to keep busy and always to keep doing more kind of really kicked off.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that today? Because I think a lot of us wear business as a badge of honor.
That is too true.
What do you do after the hard feedback lands? Not in the moment, but the day after, the week after, when it's all quiet again and it's just you. In this episode, you'll meet Mona, someone who didn't just hear feedback. She sat with it. She asked the tough questions, and she chose to reinvent herself from the inside out. In this first moment, you'll hear us talk about non-negotiables and how that clarity changes everything. Then we'll hear about the other side of growth and what happens to your friendships, your boundaries, and the people who say you've changed. If you've ever felt like you've outgrown a version of your life and you're not sure what comes next, these moments are for you. Let's watch.
What are my non-negotiables in life now? And I think, as women, when we have a lot of energy and time given to the people around us, we put ourselves last. And when that starts to taper down, suddenly you go like, oh, hang on a minute, what about me? The biggest difference for me has been to introduce space and to have space in my life to think about things clearly is going back to spirituality. And my number one thing is meditation and the exercise of gratitude. But it's also walking alone in the morning, the things that I'm doing on my own. I have learned that letting go is one of the biggest things that was sucking my energy, which now has freed up energy for me to actually give to get clarity. And you have to, in my experience, introduce that slowly. And I love what you say about a tribe. And I think home is where your tribe is, and your tribe can be anywhere. So I have big friendships that I invest in, and it's okay if I don't talk to them for months, especially if they don't live in the same country. But I am intentionally making the time to speak to them, to send messages, voice memos on WhatsApp, pictures, etc., that we are connected. And I think that connection has been for me one of the most important things in my life for the people that I love and care about. So rethinking who my tribe is. And I like to think of the people who want what's best for you will do what's best for you. And they have your best interests at heart. And I just see everyone else as noise.
We don't always get to choose how our lives begin, but we do get to choose how we grow. And in this episode, we reflect with Reeta on what it means to reclaim your voice, whether that means learning to love yourself again at 55 or learning to ask the hard questions in your 20s. These two moments remind us that self-trust isn't a given. It's something we build, one decision, one truth, one imperfect step at a time. Let's get into it.
At 20 years old, I didn't ask any questions. I was obedient, very obedient, and did whatever my parents asked me. Their word was the truth for me. When Kit sat here and said that she's now 40, and congratulations, Kit, on this milestone, and your question was, what would you say to yourself when you were 20? I would say, don't be afraid. Ask questions, no matter how hard it is. Because it will give you the real answers you are seeking for. I'm 55, and I love myself. It's taken me a very long time to feel that. It's taken me an extremely long time to say that.
And what do you think was, if there's one thing that you would like to say to all the women watching around, wow, like one day I'd love to say that for myself. What do you think was the biggest shift for you?
Listen to your intuition, your gut. Leave out all the voices that are sitting there on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. Just leave it and know that what you're feeling works. Even if it's wrong, you learn. And don't be afraid. Love yourself. Know that we're all different for a reason. If we all want to be the same, there'll be just too many of the same of us. What makes us unique is who we are.
You know that saying, take care of yourself before you take care of work? Sounds really simple. But doing it in the real world, in a real job with real pressures, that's where it gets messy. In this clip, you're going to meet Suvinder, a woman who didn't just say she needed support, she built it in. From redefining her work hours to documenting her role so the team could run without her, this is how you lead with boundaries, not burnout. This is her story. Let's watch.
What's the most useful thing that you've done to help you in this situation? I think a lot of people in the same boat might appreciate that. What was the most useful thing?
Okay, so what I did was I made sure that what I needed physically at the workplace, if I didn't get it, I got it myself. So I got myself a back-friendly chair.
Okay.
It was tough trying to get it approved to be brought into the office. But
maybe you should explain to everyone what's that chair.
Oh, okay. It was. It's basically a chair because I had a prolapse disc. somewhere along the way. And I didn't do surgery. I didn't do anything. So I needed to always sit properly and have certain ergonomics at the office with my computer screen. And because basically it was a desk-bound job. And so it was a rather expensive chair, but it was worth it.
So you spent
I could
money
sit
yourself.
properly. I could sit straight up, and then the angles, I could adjust everything, and then the angles for your arms and the
Yes.
screen, and so you don't aggravate your situation basically. And I got a big screen on my own, and family supported me a lot on a lot of things, and then I made sure that my work ethics changed. Like, I worked super on in the office during the hours I was there. Maximum 6:30, I was out of there. And unless it was exceptional, I didn't take anything home. And I had a break. And I actually, since day one of working, I never, ever had annual leave carried over, ever. I never had issues using it because my first manager had told me, the one thing, if you learn from me, is always take breaks. So I always took breaks. And I went out for lunch. I had breaks where I walked around. So that was work-related. And work-related, what I did was I documented everything. I documented processes of what I did. So everyone knew what I was doing. Everyone knew where to find it. And I used to have regular updates with people I worked with. Sometimes they didn't want to know. I was like, no, you need to know. Because if I drop off, which didn't happen that often, but sometimes it happened. So if I was suddenly not there, life goes on for work.
This next one goes out to every woman who's ever been called too much or too anything for doing exactly what her male peers are rewarded for. In this clip, we unpack with Nicole the double bind. Be warm and you're liked. Be assertive and you're punished. I talk with my guest about gender judo, performance versus potential, and why taking credit isn't arrogance, it's survival. Let's watch.
I call it gender judo, which is 80% of the time I am going to show up as the warm, caring listener. Insert your favorite female-led adjective for leadership. So that 20% of the time where I actually need to step into, sorry, here's the decision we're going to make.
Yeah.
See, I just said sorry. I just caught myself saying sorry, which is another overused word by women. It's like, I'm going to make this decision. You may not like it, but we're going to move forward.
Yeah.
And that's, masculine, right?
Yeah.
In the way it's delivered. So 20% of the time when I do that, I'm not going to be penalized because 80% of the time I'm showing up as you think a woman should show up. I'm not compromising myself. It is how I am. Women, more often than not, are judged on performance, but men on potential, right? So I see your potential. So yeah, of course you should negotiate for that pay. I expect you to be aggressive because you're a man, you are the breadwinner. That's the first, this is unconscious bias, right? But as women, if we are as successful, usually we have to choose between being liked or respected. Men, as they get more successful, are both liked and respected. And so this tightrope that we walk in is like, oh yeah, I bet she was lucky. Or, oh, I bet she knew somebody. I bet she had a lot of help. And then we perpetuate that by going, like when we receive a compliment, it's like, no, it was a teamwork. Like, it's so hard for us to receive credit.
As we grow in our careers, one of the most powerful shifts is this. Not every opinion deserves space in our lives. In this episode, Lynette shares what it means to consciously choose who gets to speak into your life and who doesn't. You'll hear how she redefined her inner circle by cutting out the noise, keeping only those who truly matter. And in the second moment, we talked with Jenny about a common experience for many women, being overlooked in meetings, having your ideas repeated and credited to someone else. It's frustrating, it's familiar, and it's time we stop normalizing it. These moments aren't just about boundaries, they're also about learning how to own your space with clarity and grace. Let's get into it.
Some people's opinions doesn't matter, like what you said. Some people, I cut out quite a lot of people in my life.
And only the ones that I want in my life that really means well, and I like them to be in my life for a long time, really matters. Their opinion matters. The rest doesn't really matter because they don't even remember who I am maybe 10 years from now.
Sometimes people will give no response to me, but direct to another topic. And sometimes some other people will repeat what I have mentioned, and then they will give the credits to the people who mentioned it instead of mentioning my name.
Okay, so that is a classic stolen idea, which is an unconscious bias that happens to women because we constantly have to prove ourselves over and over again. The reason for that is that women are more often than not judged on our performance, what we have done, whereas men are more often than not judged on their potential, what they can be. And so when a woman speaks up and there is layers of intersectional bias, maybe you were the youngest in the room, maybe you were the only Asian, maybe you were the only person from China from a certain region, that's intersectional. Then it adds on the layers to that. So when you say something, it might be ignored or people move on as if nothing happened, and somebody else says exactly the same thing, and people say, great idea. So let's talk about that. What can you do to change that? Because you are not alone, and it's also happened to me as well. So I've said things in meetings, and then it goes on as if I didn't say anything. Or I've said something, and then somebody else said exactly the same thing 5 minutes later, usually a man, and everybody says, great idea. So the next time that you say something and someone moves on the meeting, what I like to do is, depending on how important what you're saying is, and you have prepared it before the meeting, get somebody else in the same meeting to double your voice. So sometimes it could be your manager. If your manager knows that you are going to bring up this suggestion or idea ahead of time, sometimes it can be another woman or another man who's a colleague who's in the same meeting, who you would reach out to before the meeting and say, hey, this is one of the ideas. I might bring it up in the meeting, and if I do, I would love for you to double my voice because, like it or not, the voice of two women equals one man. So we have to find ways to double our voice. Now, assuming you can't do that, and you say something and the meeting moves on and the person changes the topic, it's really okay for you to say, I'd love to bring back the conversation to what I just brought up, and would love to hear the opinions from across everyone in the room, what they think about what I just said.
In this next episode, we talked about how women show up for themselves and in the world. In the first clip, I speak to something I see too often: women offering their value for free. We unpack what that really signals, not just to others, but to the universe. In the second, we get personal. Rish and I share how I built my own muscle for reflection and how naming a trigger can lead you all the way back to your deepest conditioning. Let's get into it. It's like when women tend to say, oh, but it's okay, I'll just do that for free. I don't care if you charge $20, but if you charge $0, then you're saying that you want $0. But if you charge $20, it's up to you what you do with the money. Go donate it to charity if you want. But if your starting point is $0, then you're telling the universe you want $0.
I do have a tendency to do that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Don't have to do anything. It's fine.
And the starting point for me has always been about how do you build a muscle of reflection? We're so busy. We're getting all these dopamine hits that are keeping us going. How do we take the time to step out and reflect and ask ourselves, what's going well, what's not, so that we can have a conversation and we can learn from the series of experiences that we go through. Because that honestly is going to be the best teacher, best coach you can ever get in the process of your, thinking about your own growth.
Yeah. And reflection. So let's break it down to steps. So if I wanted to start reflecting today, what might I do? Because for me, if I think about reflection for me, sometimes it's big questions. And then I have to say it out, put it out to the universe.
Yep.
And then I trust that at sometimes the most random points in my life, it's going to come back to me. The second is I say it out loud to a close friend. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about this and I'm reflecting. Like for me, verbalizing is another form of doing it. And sometimes it's very simple. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. Why did I get so annoyed when this person said that? But I now have tools to go back to, oh, okay, my mother was super judgmental and critical. Therefore, I know why she's that way and what I learned from that and why I'm this way. But not a lot of people out there have that. So if someone were to start on a self-reflection journey, what are 1 or 2 steps they could do today? This one's close to my heart. In episode 12, I sit down with 2 incredible women, including my own personal trainer, Olivia, someone who lives her values both in and out of the gym. In this highlight, Olivia shares what it meant to grow up watching a strong feminine role model and how that shaped the way she leads today with belief, grit, and heart. And later, we talk with Nix about something I think we don't hear enough of at work. The power of saying, I don't know, not as a weakness, but as a door opener, a way to let others in and build real human connections. Let's watch.
I've always been very feminine. I've always been a girly girl. And I think that comes from my mom.
Yeah.
She was always into fashion and dressing up. So I kind of take that from her. But I would like to think I got the girl boss side from her as well. So yeah. I'm very fortunate to have grown up under her. She was a girl boss. She's very successful in New Zealand. And from a young age, I always just watched her be in charge. She was that strong woman that could be like feminine at the same time, which was nice to see that lovely balance as we were talking about at the beginning. So she was the one that really inspired me from a young age to, she's like, if you believe in something, if you're passionate about something, don't just block out all the noise, whatever people say or whatever people doubt you. Like, you got to internally believe in yourself, and you got to hustle, but you got to work hard. There's no cutting that out, but you can do what you set your mind to. And that was just from a young age, watching her be this big boss, and there was men under her listening to her, reporting to her. So that was really cool. Yeah. But at the same time, I go home and she's still my mom, and we go out shopping or, Yeah. So I think like what you said, it can be tough at times for sure. I am definitely very feminine in a very masculine environment. I'm always trying to find my balance there.
Having that vulnerability at work to say I don't know kind of also offers that invitation to kind of help and rally around a situation, which I found very useful for me at work so far. I think a lot of the closest allies and colleagues I have all stem from me saying, I have no idea what I'm doing and how I'm moving forward. And I think that's something beautiful when people come together as a community to co-create and to move forward together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, those were just a few of the highlights from season 1 of Raw with Uma. If something in these conversations spoke to you, like this video, please hit subscribe. And if you think someone you care about can benefit from it, please do share it with them. Maybe it's someone who's reinventing their career right now. Someone who feels like they're figuring it out alone. Because follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, LinkedIn. I am sharing more of these stories every day. Lessons and raw moments are there too. And stay tuned, season 2 is coming soon, where I get even more personal and raw.